Hey, everybody. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast brought to you by the good folks at WinBet. Jeff Erickson here, and got a special podcast this time. We did the first annual Scarf Draft, which occurred on Sunday. It's a series of regional drafts inspired by Barf, which was the first of the first of these Bay Area one. Justin Mason, Saris. The late Laura Michaels was one of the founders of this one here. Fun activity there. So we did the Southern California version of it this Sunday, and happy to talk about that. We're going to filter in a bunch of people through the league. We'll show you the draft grid. We'll go over some of the things that have affected our teams and also the latest breaking news, because there's all sorts of kind of crazy stuff here. We'll start off with actually a breaking news item first. But before I do that, introducing our two guests right now. I've got Seth Klein and I've got Sam Wershing joining us here. Seth, Sam, welcome.
Hello.
How you guys doing?
Glad to be here.
Good. I want to start off, Seth. First of all, where do you write? Where can people find your work?
You cannot find my work anymore, unfortunately. I am a retired writer, but you can follow me on Twitter at Seth Sportsman, SETHDASPORTSMAN. There might be some archives of my old writing at some old sites, but I just love baseball and sports and love chatting about it and playing a lot.
So it's a trick question. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
This is why this is why I'm a recovering attorney and not an actual attorney. One of the things they teach you in law school is, when you got the witness on the stand, always know the answer to the question you're about to ask. Don't get any surprise answers there. So this is why I would be a failed lawyer. But Sam, welcome back. Sam, where can we find your work?
I'm located on Twitter at SamFBB1.
Okay, cool.
And I do.
And do you do? Are you doing? I know you said you're into. If I recall, you told me at the draft. First of all, I know you're a Mariners guy. You're back up in the Seattle area, and you've been doing a lot of dynasty leagues. If I'm right, did I get that right? Do I remember correctly?
Yeah, I was going to say I also do some writing for the Dynasty Guru, and I've been playing Dynasty for the last almost 20 years. So
fantastic. So it's different doing a little bit of a redraft, a 15-team snake draft for you. Then a little bit of a different experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was almost none of my drafts are live, and so it was really nice to be in a room with people.
Yeah, absolutely. And that we could even be in a room with people was nice after the last few years too. But live drafts rule. And that's why I did this league, is because I wanted to meet people. It's always name to face, get that, you hang out with some people, and you almost always, next time you see them online, you might be a little less combative if you happen to be combative in the first place. And it's a greater understanding. So I always prefer the live drafts. Freddie Freeman signed with the Dodgers last night. Big signing there. What does that do to his value? Seth, what's your take on that?
I think his value stays about the same. I mean, obviously the Dodgers lineup on paper is slightly better than the Braves, but he's sitting in the middle of the order. I don't think his numbers are going to change a whole lot. He's going to hit for a high average, 30-plus home runs, probably 90, 100, maybe a few more RBIs than he had in Atlanta, but it's a great lineup, and I think it's more about the guys around him that will benefit a little bit more.
Sam, any take on this Freeman signing from you?
Oh, I absolutely agree with what Seth had to say about it. I just think that he's going to be a real elite first baseman for the next 3 to 5 years, as long as his health holds up. I'm real excited for his landing spot.
Yeah. His landing spot in Scarf was on my team. I got him in the second round. I'm team 6. And, I started off Cole and Freeman, so I don't have a lot of steals to begin with, but I wanted him to land in a good spot. And I kind of figured there wasn't going to be a non-contending team going for him. Unlike the next guy we're going to talk about, which was a real windfall for his drafter, and that's Chris Bryant. Chris Bryant signing with the Rockies. Guys, what are the Rockies doing?
Paying money for Nolan Arenado to be somewhere else and bringing in his equivalent. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't.
Go ahead.
I don't really understand. I mean, I understand why they brought him in. Obviously, the 7 years is a lot. But like Sam said, going back to the move they made with Arenado, Arenado's a better player than Chris Bryant. and then they're paying the money on top, and all they got was Austin Gomber, I think, right? So, and he's hurt. So it kind of just maybe trying to fix a mistake they realized they made. I'm not really sure what they're doing there.
Appeasing a fan base more than likely. But it doesn't make any sense from, making better moves to have that team compete in a couple of years. I don't think Chris Bryant makes that team competitive, especially in the division they're in. So
that's the thing that's crazy. I mean, this whole lockout, we're talking about teams not trying and complaining about that. As a Reds fan, I was complaining about that, especially after the lockout when they started pairing people off. So I can't complain when a team is spending money. So you can't have it both ways. We also are joined by Kev Mauser-Rajon. You can follow him on Twitter at RotoSurgeon. He's doing a lot of work for Fox now. Kev, welcome to the show. How's it going?
I'm doing great. I'm actually there right now.
All right. Fantastic. I like it. Podcasting from work. Very cool. Let's start going through some of these teams, taking a look at what everybody did in their draft. We'll start with Seth. You were right next to me, Seth. You were drafting 7th. I was drafting 6th in this draft. Let's take a look and take a look quickly at what you've done. You went Corbin Burns. You went 3 pitchers to start. Burns, Hader.
I'm the other way. I'm 5.
Oh, you're before me. I'm so sorry. I defamed you. You went Bo Bichette, and then Starling Marte to start. You bummed me out. I mean, it was common for Bichette to go 5, but at the same token, I was like, maybe he'll get to me, and then I won't feel like compelled to take Cole. I didn't want to go another Vlad build. I've had a couple of leagues with Vlad so far, and I don't mind it, but it's always scrambling. Was Bichette your target all along, or were you hoping one of the other 4 would fall to you?
I mean, I would have probably slightly preferred Ramirez or Soto, but I can't complain. I think Bichette and Ramirez are pretty similar. A little more power for Ramirez, better batting average for Bichette. Obviously, Soto does nothing wrong, but I like there. I was interested in Acuna. I was going over him, and literally right when I was looking, I saw the update that he might not be ready till maybe May, which worries me. So couldn't take that risk. Bichette's a 5-tool guy and or 5-cat guy, and so that's what I settled on.
Yeah. If you're drafting it again today, now knowing that Acuna is not going to play the outfield until late May, how far does he drop down your board?
Not as far as Tatis, but I would say late May. Who knows? It could be longer. I'd say like 3rd round for me.
Yeah. Guys, you want to weigh in on Acuna?
I mean, I'll just say he should have been going 2nd, 3rd in that fringe the entire time. We knew someone coming off an ACL was going to have some sort of limitation. It wasn't going to be a perfect, plug and play week 1, opening day. But yeah, I mean, if you took him, He's still Ronald Acuna. I bet they'll let him run somewhat, but it's a very risky pick no matter where you take him, just because, it's a player off his ACL, and there's been research done on the base leg, his right leg necessarily. When the ACL is torn, your batting average is affected more so than when it is your front leg when you're hitting. So yeah, Acuna is just a risky pick. I think 3rd round is fine. If you're taking him there now, I'm pretty much out overall. And Tatis, as you mentioned, I don't know how you draft him in a league at this point if he's not going to be available until the All-Star break, after the All-Star break.
Yeah, I agree with that, Kev, completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we saw some of the NFBC drafts in the days immediately after the news came out on Monday, 12 hours after our draft on Tatis. And that's one of the things the lockout did to us is, we would have known about this in the middle of March normally, but because of the late start to spring training, the total lack of communication between players and teams, we didn't know about it until now. And that's just brutal when you get the 2nd overall pick and he's going to be out 3 months. I saw him go in the 3rd round in some drafts. I just don't get that. I understand you're not taking a 0 there. You get replacement value, but man, it's way too optimistic for him, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, where would you guys take him at least? I said out of the top 100, but that's even.
I would avoid him.
Nothing. Completely.
Well, it would have to be, like you said, 8, 10, somewhere in that range where you just can't believe that he's still on the board. I could see doing that because two months of a healthy Acuna or Tatis, and this is for both of them, that the cost would have to be so low compared to what we really think about them. So not top 100 after the 100.
Yeah, if he's falling down to that area where you've got Benintendi, Colton Wong, like that area where, okay, like one of those guys, their stats for 2.5 months aren't going to be tremendous. That's where I'd kind of say, okay, I'll stash this guy for a few months. It really depends. I mean, obviously in NFBC, it's harder, but if you are in like a home league that maybe has 7 or 8 bench spots, like the more bench spots, or if you even have an IL spot, obviously an IL spot makes him way more valuable. But he's shown that he will rush back from an injury to play. Not that that's necessarily a good thing, but gets you stats quicker if he can stay healthy the rest of the season from that point on. So there's a point where some of these guys just don't have the upside. I'd take 3-4 months from Tatis than I would probably 6 months from someone like I'm looking here like Gurriel Jr. or I don't know, somewhere in that range.
Well, let's do with another shortstop. Gleyber Torres. Kev, you took him at 9:15. Gleyber Torres or Tatis, knowing what you know now?
Gleyber Torres. Think about it. He still has the shoulder. It's not even just the wrist.
Right.
Tatis has he's not healthy. He wasn't healthy, and now he's even more not healthy, and it wasn't even a baseball injury. He was driving his motorbike or something, and he injured himself. It's like, as crazy it is that we didn't find this out from the team, like it's not like a team-related thing, like he had like a bone spur or something. It's like, we should have known this too.
Well, and when he was asked, didn't he say which motorcycle accident?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't even
which
one.
That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
So,
and that's some of the funny things that you find out afterwards there. But yeah, it definitely lowers my confidence level going forward. Seth, looking at the rest of your roster, your team 5, you went Bichette, Starling Marte, a little bit of an oblique issue there. We'll see if that becomes a bigger one. How reporting goes on oblique injuries. So we'll see, knock on wood on that one. Urias, Lynn, your first closer is Corey Knebel, and then you took Mark Melancon as well. Were you planning on waiting till that second or third tier of closers?
I was, yeah. In a league like this where you can make waiver claims and drops, I prioritize closer less because, as we know, throughout the season, guys pop up out of nowhere. You can stream some saves. They're not going to be. You're not going to probably come in first in the league in saves if you don't have an Iglesias or a Diaz or Hader, one of these guys. But I could be middle pack, top 5 if I can piece together some saves. And Corey Knebel, if he really is the closer, and even if he gets a few months of closing, can get 15, 20 saves. Melancon, don't really think he has any competition at the moment. The D-backs are bad, but he can rack up another 15, 20 saves, and I pick up a few guys here and there. I think I could piece together a middle-of-the-road saves team, so I'm okay with that, boosting my starting pitching early on, my hitting early on, and letting someone else take a closer.
Later in the draft, you roll the dice on a couple players, Trevor Bauer, Steven Strasburg. To a lesser extent, this isn't really a dice roll. This is more of an upside play, but Christian Javier, especially the news on Lance McCullers seemingly getting worse. Talk to me about the Bauer-Strasburg combo there.
Bauer was just one of those picks I didn't want to make, but I was looking at the options that were left. Mike Clevenger it was the next pitcher taken. He's coming off a TJ. Then it was Urquidy, who's like not a big strikeout pitcher. Ryu was bad last year, and then Syndergaard comes after that. Like another iffy pick. Whitlock, is he going to be a start? It's getting to the point where the pitcher's like, are they going to be in the rotation? Are they going to be closers? Are they healthy? So I felt like, as much as I really don't like Trevor Bauer, I felt just fantasy-wise at that point, if he does play, he could be a top 10 guy. Even if he gets suspended for half the season. The other half, he could be a top 10 guy. Obviously, that's tougher in these kind of leagues, but it was worth it for me there to see what happens. If he gets suspended for the whole season, I drop him. With Strasburg, same kind of deal. The history says he's a very good pitcher. Injury-wise, that's been very problematic for him. But so far, they're saying he's healthy. He's going to probably miss the first few starts of the season to get his normal ramping up timeline. However, if he can play the majority of the season or 3/4 of the season at what we're used to seeing him do, he's going to be better than Bailey Ober or somebody like that I was taking in this range. Sorry, Jeff. But
I see you there.
Yeah,
get in my kitchen on that one there. That's fine.
He's way more safe. He has more of a likelihood of making 30 starts than Strasburg does. But I was just having some fun, and I do have Strasburg in like every league because this is a former World Series MVP. The guy was an ace, and he's going in the 16th round. So at that point, it's like, hey, so what? And with Javier, like you said, McCullers, more bad news is coming out. Odorizzi is just terrible, in my opinion. Javier's got stuff. He was almost in the rotation last year. For him, it's like I can see a Luis Garcia all over again, like this guy coming into the rotation and just being really good. So
I like Javier a lot. I think it's just, I worry about his walks a little bit, but I think the strikeout upside is worth it, especially for the price that you paid. Overall reflections on the draft. How did you feel you did? What struck you as noteworthy from being in this draft?
Well, being in the draft in general, I found that the competition was just incredible. There was nobody that was getting past anybody. Such a smart group, such a smart room. Even there was points in the draft where I said, oh my God, you took that guy. I was going to wait a couple more rounds. As far as my team goes, I loved my start. I loved the first, 8 to 10 rounds. I like Rhys Hoskins a lot too this year. So I like that pick in the 10th. I do wish I kind of had a little more confident pitching, because you did mention some of these risks that I took. I could have probably taken one more solid starter earlier on, but other than that, I like my team. There's a few misses already I can see, but I also like the end of my draft. I feel like the last 5 or 6 picks were some pretty good value picks for me. Some guys that have a chance to be in the lineups, be in the rotation, and can really make an impact. And I got them for pretty cheap.
Good stuff, Seth. Appreciate that. Before we introduce the next member of the league, a quick note. We have to do this. Take care of a little business from WynnBET. WynnBET is now the exclusive sponsor for RotoWire's Fantasy Podcast. WynnBET brings you all the latest action with a user-friendly interface, money line bets, boosted parlays, over-unders, round robins, live betting, and so much more are at your fingertips. Want a break from sports betting? Head into WynnBET's digital casino and take a spin on roulette, double down in blackjack, slam the slots, or try your hand at baccarat. WynnBET is currently available in 9 states: Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia, while rapidly expanding. At WynnBET, the possibilities are limitless. Register for WynnBET today, make a qualifying deposit, and wager to receive $200 in free bets. Promotion may vary by state. Download WynnBET now. That's WYNNBET. WynnBET, the exclusive partner for RotoWire's Fantasy Podcast. Jeff Erickson here with a bunch of the members of the Scarf League. And joining us now is Ian Swerka. You can follow him on Twitter at Swerka. Did I pronounce that right, Ian?
Yeah, you nailed it. Thanks.
All right, cool. Ian, I don't know where you do your work. Do you? How did you join the league?
I don't do work.
Okay.
So I joined the league because I saw the Earth League chatter getting started, and I just sent a tweet saying, hey, is there a Scarf League? Assuming that would be the title of the Southern California League. And the next thing I knew, George was in my DMs asking if I would be interested in joining.
Nice. Way to go, George. Sliding into random DMs. Beautiful.
I gave him an out. I let him know I was just a guy. And he said, no, the more the merrier. And here I am.
George Montañez from NBC Sports Edge, who coordinated this draft. He's not in it right now. I think he's at Disney today. So he's living a good life right now. We don't want to begrudge him that. Tell us more about you. Where are you from?
I'm from San Diego, so I'm just down the road from you folks. And I've been playing fantasy for quite some time, but the last 2 years it really took off. I reactivated an old Twitter account and jumped into fantasy baseball Twitter, and I even went to FPAS last year, and so I got to meet a lot of folks and start getting involved with things more. Actually, Jeff, one of my favorite things about FPAS was getting to watch you conduct the auction. I wasn't part of the auction, but it was as good of a spectator event as anything that weekend. I really enjoyed that. You're a good auctioneer.
Thank you. I enjoy doing that. Just being involved in the room, getting to know people. Again, it's just like drafting life, but being an auctioneer, I run a pretty quick auction. Try to get people out of there at a reasonable time. We all had a game to go watch that night. So going once, going twice, sold, sell that bad boy. But yeah, plus we're at First Pitch Arizona. You should be knowing what you're doing anyhow. So it's like, you don't have to, who is this guy? None of that. So we had that going for us here. You drafted out of the 10 slot, and that's a tough spot to be in this year. I feel like there's a lot of variability. You ended up with Bryce Harper, number 1 in the first round, and Manny Machado in the second. Is that aligned with your plans going along, or how did you?
Yeah, I was really pleased to get Harper. Just from a projection standpoint, I think I had him valued a little better than where I got him. So I was really pleased to get him. I am a big Tucker guy, so having them both available there was a real difficult thing for me, because I didn't know if I should go with my heart or go with I put some work into it, and I had Harper over him, so I went with Harper. And the first time I knew that I was in a tough room was that second round pick where I went with Machado, because I had Buehler, Woodruff, and Scherzer lined up with 4 picks to go, and I was like, hey, this is great. I'm in. I'm going to get one of these guys. And then boom, 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 they went all the picks right before me.
That's
and
nature of the
I
beast.
thought Manny Machado was a good option. Yeah, exactly. So from that point on, it was I knew it was a sharp room, and like someone said before me, I felt real good through 8 or 10 rounds, but I gotta say, with the pandemic and a lot of stuff pushing to online and a lot of slow drafts, I was out of draft shape for this pace. And I really spit the bit at a certain point and had to kind of collect myself in the middle rounds. I've been on some kind of slow draft for 12 out of the last 24 months, but really not many live at this pace. And it was like a muscle that I hadn't flexed for a while. And, it took some getting used to.
Does anybody else have that issue?
Yeah.
We had half an hour per pick, so I was just like, well, and some of these guys, I forgot who it was taking like 13 minutes at the turn. And I was just like, well, okay, I guess we'll chill out.
Yeah. I think I made, I was averaging less than 30 seconds a pick. So that was a point of pride for me. I don't know. I do so many drafts that I figured let's keep it going along. Plus I had to do a podcast that night. So, I was interested in keeping the trains running along on time. That was a concern, but Kev, you're drafting from the turn. You at the 15th spot. Started off Robert and Ohtani. Yeah, that's a lot of power and speed combo at the start. Plus Tyler O'Neill in the third. Kind of waited to take your first starting pitcher until Pablo Lopez all the way down in the 10th.
Yeah, I mean, looking at starting pitcher, especially in a league with Fab, I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I figure I could piece together a rotation based off of guys that are dropped early on, via guys that are going later who are undervalued based off of maybe 2020, the 2021 season where COVID and everything was affected. Because there's a lot of good skills pitchers who've dropped due to various random injuries or whatever. And, Pablo Lopez is at the shoulder, but that's neither here nor there. My strategy typically is always go hitter early and then figure out my pitching. If valuable pitchers are available, I'll take them. But otherwise, you work around it. Class A, now, taking my first closer. That's not something I would typically do, but I've learned my lesson in these NFBC leagues. You got to get those saves.
Yeah, you do. You do. I've TGFBI. I waited a while, and it's just so uncomfortable. Did anybody here wait on saves? Nope.
And TGFBI.
TGFBI did, but yeah, I just don't. I've done it before in some leagues, some formats, but man, I gotta say, I like getting one of those top 8 or 9 guys, and then maybe taking chances on the second closer.
In
Yeah,
DCs, I always take a closer early on, draft, best balls and draft champions and stuff like that, because you have to have one of those guys.
Yeah, and I thought I was going to be more aggressive with closers, and I didn't end up being. So
Yeah, you still got Will Smith though.
I did. That Class A pick though really threw me off. I was not planning on Xander Bogaerts. So
I remember that. That was funny. You reacted pretty harsh.
it was my way of saying I love you, Ken.
I know.
Kev, that's
Fair
really where that's at.
Kev gets that a lot on Twitter, especially. I love you.
Absolutely.
I think it's like the most common thing he gets in his direction there. So we got that going for us.
I mean, I got to.
Well, I'm going to pick up Jed Lowry right when they're playing the Guardians.
Yes.
Jed Lowry, the Class A killer, as everybody knows him.
Yes. So that was pretty funny there. Yeah, it was. I like that. I love. That's one of the things I like about the live draft though, is the reaction when you get sniped. Seth got me a couple times though. I didn't like that as much. That wasn't so fun. Got me with Giancarlo Stanton. Got me later on with Christian Javier. Actually, those are 2 guys that I was kind of targeting. It's like, he did it to me again.
I think you said too with Melanson as well. Or maybe he was just like you wanted a closer, because I think you're like, that was my next pick.
Yeah, maybe so. As it turns out, with Ian Kennedy signing with them like nanoseconds later with the Diamondbacks. Not that I think the world of Ian Kennedy, but it's no longer a sure thing. And Melanson's the only guy that they have.
Yeah,
Right.
So I didn't. Yeah, that signing was definitely like Melanson's the guy now, but instead of a random nobody, they have someone with closing experience that can replace him if he struggles.
This week has been so wild, and we had some news before our draft. We had that big trade. I got screwed on that. The Twins trade, Josh Donaldson for Gary Sanchez, basically. Although I don't know how much I got screwed. It's the second casher, round 20. I took Ryan Jeffers, and then like literally 7 seconds later, the Sanchez trade was announced. I think Sanchez is going to DH a lot anyhow, so I'm not really that concerned. But it's a bummer. I thought I was getting a bargain, and then I was just getting a garden variety backup catcher instead. So,
I mean, if you look at the spring training lineup today, Jeffers was catching, Sanchez was DHing. So, I mean,
I was just going to say the same thing too. Yeah. So, good start for Jeffers owners.
It's so hard to keep a track of everything right now. Besides just spring training games starting and players still signing at the same time. It's the tournament. There's all sorts of stuff that can draw your attention away right now. How do you stay on top of it all?
I mean, you could follow RotoWire, you could follow RotoBaller. You got like everything on Twitter shooting out news on the daily. So the more follows you got, the more notifications you got on maybe. I mean, otherwise, I was even lost. Like, I was like, Brad Hand signed a couple days ago. I was like, when the heck did he sign?
Well, that's just Dave Dombrowski doing his thing and building a bad bullpen. That's what he does.
I'm not gonna lie. I have a lot of Brad Hand this year, so like, let's not downplay the possible 15 saves he can get.
Don't diminish the work your Brad Hand pick is doing there. Okay.
I just took him yesterday in a draft too, and why not?
I mean, it's him or Nebel. Like, Brad Hand has a ton of saves. I mean, he's been a legitimate closer for the last half decade. So I don't think it's impossible for him to have like a 3.8 ERA with maybe 20 saves ish if Nebel does struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah. They said the way they said it is like Knable's the closer for now. I was like, okay. Right. Thanks for that dramatic pause there, but we'll see about that. But I think the way Hand finished last year, maybe that's in my mind, stuck in my mind that's the version that is still remaining. So sometimes I get that close of the season bias that goes against me there. We'll start taking a look at Sam's roster here in a second, but first, a quick note from Thrive. Experience a new way to play daily fantasy sports on Thrive Fantasy. Thrive Fantasy is an exciting player prop fantasy contest. With Thrive Fantasy, you can eliminate the countless hours of research and focus on only the top-tier athletes that have the biggest impact on the game. Sign up for Thrive Fantasy today and receive a free 6-month RotoWire subscription. Here's how you claim your free RotoWire subscription. 1, visit rotowire.com/thrive. 2, deposit a minimum of $10 and receive a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. And 3, play in your first paid contest and receive a free 6-month RotoWire subscription. Very easy. All right. We're with Sam Wershing, where you can catch his work at Dynasty Guru. Sam, let's talk about you drafting from the 13 slot. Started off with Ozzie Albies, Rafael Devers, 2 good hitters. You got some speed with the first one, and a non-zero in stolen bases in Devers. He'll get you like 4 or 5 probably.
Yeah.
The interesting pick to me was your 3rd round pick, Robbie Ray at 313. It's a little low for where he goes, but at the same time, it's like, it's scary to think Robbie Ray it was a 20+ round pick last year. Now we're taking him in the 3rd round. Were you fist pumping after that pick, or were you like, I guess I'll have to take him?
No, I was excited to take Robbie Ray. I think he goes to a better division. He plays in a better park for pitchers. I buy into the change. It was pretty much all last season. The tight pants must be doing something for him. And it was a homer pick. I'm real excited to see what he can do for the Mariners this year. And I wanted a reason to really get behind this team. Both of my first 2 picks, I really don't care a whole lot about as a fan. So I was real excited to pick up Robbie Ray. I think he's going to perform really well this year.
Guys, what do we think about the Robbie Ray pick?
Too rich for my blood, honestly. Like I love Robbie Ray, the concept of Robbie Ray, but I'm not into paying up for a guy who consistently, he's had great years and he's had bad years. He has had more bad years than great years. And so, yep. I get it. The skills are always there, but the walks are always an issue. Home runs can pop up. I personally cannot buy into Robbie Ray.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I don't think I have him on any teams yet this year. I would have been happy with him around and a half later, but the spot he's at, I feel more comfortable someone a little less up and down career wise.
Yeah.
Your token timed out.
Yeah, hate it when that happens. There we go. Don't let your tokens time out, people. Very bad. Let's the thing about Robbie Ray too is now that the Mariners are definitely throwing in for this year, stealing Jesse Winker from my Reds. Just don't let him play defense. And getting an Eugenio Suarez to get you some power, and don't let him play defense either. Should be fine. But looking at the rest here, I like Joe Musgrove a lot. Target of yours in the 5th round?
Yeah, I needed another starter, and I like him better than I like Fried or Flaherty or Berrios. So
I think it's a close call between Musgrove and Fried. I think I made that same choice in TGFBI and went Musgrove over Fried.
Yeah, I was going to say, I also really like Dylan Cease. He was somebody that I considered there as well, but I wanted to go with the team that was filled with players that I also don't roster a lot or play a lot with. And so this is my only share of Joe Musgrove out there. So
very good. Very good. You mentioned that you got sniped a little bit on Class A. Was there any other points in the draft where you felt you got stymied? Pick got taken right before you?
There were a couple near the end that I was a little bummed about. I really wanted Doval in the 12th. But overall, I was pretty happy with who I took. John Means also. I missed him somehow.
Means. Yeah.
So I don't think that the sticky stuff is really that big of a concern for him this year. And with them moving back the fences, I'm real excited to see him take a little step forward this year. So,
yeah, I even told Michael I liked that pick when he took it. So, that was to get sniped there. So you're one of 3 Seattle fans, if I recall correctly, that are in the draft. Three people wearing Mariners hats. So I have to assume that you're all Mariners fans. And you loaded up on your Mariners. I think you have like 7 or 8 guys from your team. But is that because you feel like you know them better, or is it just do you kind of go that way often?
I don't go that way often, but I feel like there's a few Mariners that are going to do better than what they're projected to do. So maybe it's a homer bias, maybe it's a little bit of that. But I feel good about the Mariners that I drafted and I took. I really feel strongly about Ty France and Abraham Toro. I think they're both going to do really well this year, and so I'm just excited to see what they can do.
Yeah,
I like those Mariners a lot more now with the Winker trade. I still don't like Winker, but I like the other Mariners because I think they were.
Well, this hurts Winker without a doubt. I like Winker as a hitter. I don't like him as a defensive player, but it definitely hurts him. The ballpark just crushes the batting average for him a little bit, and he's not going to run a whole lot, so that's always often a concern too. This is one of the tricky things, guys. So many things of our player values have changed in 4 days. Does it make you want to wait for your last drafts to like let this whole cycle settle a little bit more? What are you doing? When's your next draft? Ian, when's yours, for instance?
I don't have anything planned, but I honestly don't think I'd want to wait because I don't know. I feel like it's about 50-50, right? In some situations, you're going to wind up with a little bit of a boon on your hands. Like, hey, I think I like Max Muncy a little more today than I did 2 weeks ago, right? And then there's other guys that are the opposite. I got Tyler Stevenson on this team, and look who's around him now. Yeah. Now, granted, he might also fall into some more that DH position is not going to be as crowded. So maybe on non-catching days, we might see a little more of him than we would have. But I'd still rather have a half-decent lineup around him. So just in those couple guys right there, it's, a little from column A, a little from column B. I think you can wait as long as you want, but things are always going to be changing.
Yep.
Absolutely. I will say this. Don't get in a slow draft now. Just everyone will be milking that clock. Especially if you're impatient to begin with. It's going to drive you nuts. People are going to try to leverage that.
Yeah, I'm finishing up one right now. We're in the 40s, and someone's in Hawaii. So we have Hawaii time, we have Pacific time, we have Eastern, and everything in between. It's brutal. It's so. I mean, nothing against the Hawaii time guy. It's like he lives where he lives, but my God, people are milking that extra time that they're getting.
Oh, for sure. I mean, let's look. I mean, there's still a lot of big free agents out there still too. Only, more on the hitting side than the pitching side, but Kenley's still out there, and that's a big linchpin. If he goes back to the Dodgers, that crushes Trinan. If he goes to Toronto, it crushes Romano, which means me. Squad. I don't think he goes to Toronto though. I just have a pretty good feeling about that. But wherever he goes, it's a daisy chain. It's going to set off some effects. And then you look at Trevor Story and Carlos Correa, Castellanos. Seth, you've got Castellanos. At one point, it looked like he was going to go to Miami. Then Jeter steps down, and it's not so much anymore. Where do you think he lands?
I haven't really even thought about it. I think he's a good hitter no matter where he goes, and he was a good hitter in Detroit, and so obviously the stats got boosted a little in Cincinnati, but that goes with the lineup around him too. But I haven't really thought about it. I haven't speculated on him yet. For some reason in my head, I'm thinking more of the couple shortstops you mentioned, but I think he's fine wherever he goes. I like the slow drafts though. It keeps my brain sharp. It allows me to see where other people are taking guys, and I don't play them for a lot of money. So
sure,
I'm okay putting $25-$50 down on a slow draft. And I did yesterday. I was next up to pick when Jock Peterson signed, so I just took Jock Peterson. But so it works out both ways. But yeah, the serious drafts I like to sit down and everyone be at the same mercy to the clock and the news and all that.
Yeah, I mean,
how are you guys? Go ahead.
Sorry,
go ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned Castellanos, like in Detroit. He wasn't that good of a fantasy hitter. He was a great hitter, but fantasy-wise, I mean, playing in Great American, I mean, Jeff can attest to this. That really helped them out, even with the Cubs even changing to Wrigley. Wrigley's very righty favorable, but I think landing spot matters a lot for Castellanos, from him being a good hitter to like a great fantasy hitter, which justifies that like 5th round ADP.
Yeah,
Colorado.
Yeah,
he's going to Colorado.
I guess what I meant is that I don't. Yes, I agree that a bad landing spot could drop him around, but even in without looking at his stats in Detroit, he's still hit for average. He's still got the RBIs. So I'm not worried about him just like going somewhere and all of a sudden being a 250 hitter with 20 home runs. So I think he's still got a very high floor in terms of that. So and these days, most there's a lot of parks that are beneficial to hitters and probably fewer that aren't. So fingers crossed that he doesn't go to Progressive Field or something like that.
when we were in like during the lockout and the first days ensuing, and even like Sunday, there were still a ton of unsigned players. We've seen a lot more movement since then. But generally speaking, how were you handling the guys that were unsigned? Were you knocking them down a little bit at all, or does it depend on the player? I guess. How are you handling those guys as a class?
I think it depends on the player, because Story is somebody that I would have drafted, but we get into some of these closers or even Castellanos that it would make me a little bit more hesitant to want to invest in those players. I want to have a defined role when I'm drafting somebody for the most part. So that's where I was at.
I mean, landing spot matters for those guys who like Castellanos who don't provide the extra category like steals. Let's say, so if like you're missing one, those landing spots matter much more because it compounds those minimal things you have. So like Story, I mean, I guess like a Correa, it would really matter for since he's not stealing anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Conforto kind of fell in that range for me too, because there was a couple of times where I was eyeballing him and okay, they mentioned Colorado, like that'd be great, Colorado, but then maybe he goes somewhere else that they do not a full platoon, but maybe they have a busy team, a more well-rounded team, and maybe he does sit 1 or 2 times a week. So that was kind of scaring me. And then the closers, the unsigned closers, the situations, that's one that I always avoid because we've seen so many times, oh yeah, this guy is closer for many years. We think he's a close, and then like a Kimbrel type situation is going to get 30 saves, and then he goes to a team where he ends up being the setup man. So I don't like really taking risks on those types of guys.
For sure. Yeah. Closer, a very specific category, one category, not one category, but the only guy that can get that category. It matters a ton. I know I did a online championship on Thursday that right after the lockout ended. And Nelson Cruz was still unsigned. He dropped to like pick 250 or something like that. So it can be a buying opportunity at times too.
Yeah. I mean, Cruz could hit anywhere. That's kind of the thing with him. He hit with the Rays. If you can hit with the Rays, you can hit anywhere.
Right.
Sure. And I think some of the talk was, he slowed down with the Rays. Maybe he's finally slowing down. Well, maybe, but I like where he landed. I mean, it's not the greatest lineup, but it's definitely a situation there where he's going to, it's a good ballpark and he gets to hit behind Soto. So it could be way worse. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, how many teams are left that like really need like those big signings? Like the Cardinals, Rays have one spot open maybe, and then the Mets are still looking for a guy.
Yeah, they're going to pay the Cohen tax anyhow, I guess, right? And somewhat, this whole lockout is about the small payroll owners versus Steve Cohen. The same guys that voted against him becoming an owner in the first place were one of the ones that are driving a hard bargain and anyhow during the lockout. So I don't know. It could be interesting to see how Cohen reacts to that and how they react to him. Well, we got a few more questions I want to talk about. Before we do that, though, quick note from our friends at Better Edge. Do you think your betting skills are good enough to win you tickets to the Final Four? It's time to put your money where your mouth is. Better Edge is giving away a trip for 2 to the Final Four in New Orleans. All you have to do is join their contest at betteredge.com/Final Four. Better Edge believes sports betting with no fees should be the norm, and odds are it's legal in your state. Check it out and enter their March Madness contest for a chance to win a trip to the Final Four. Head on over to betteredge.com/Final Four. That's BETTOR edge.com/Final Four. Terms and conditions apply. And now, quickly, a quick note from our sponsors on the Blue Wire Network. That was a quick note. All right. Thanks to them for hosting our podcast on the Blue Wire Network. Got a lot of fun friends here for Scarfcast here. I'm Jeff Erickson here with Sethka. Couple other things to deal with. I want to get your reaction on maybe some of the other final moves, the trades. Let's get you, there's been a couple of baseball trades, but for the most part, they've been salary dumps. Obviously, Matt Olson, if we're drafting again today, how much higher does he go?
Matt Olson finished where in this draft?
Matt Olson went at 414 to team 2, Adam Sloat. So that would be pick 59. He's going to definitely go way higher than that now, right?
Yeah. I mean, Olson, you look at his skills, that's like late third-ish range. Like, I'd take him over Alonso now that he's in Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, I love Atlanta as a landing spot for him, and we know he's going to be there forever. He's kind of from there too, so from that standpoint, he was happy to sign the long-term deal to be there. They're not going to move him anytime soon, and that's a great park for left-handed power.
Right.
Yeah, going on the draft board, I'd definitely take him over O'Neill, Lindor, and I mean, two catcher aside, I never take Real Muto in that spot. Maybe even Teoscar. All of this, if you can get
bite your tongue. Don't even.
I love Teoscar. I mean, again, if he can get in that 12 steal range again, I'd solid on that spot. But
I'm a known Teoscar aficionado, though, so just for the record. But that's all. I don't care. It's necessarily my draft. Yeah. It's just I love Teoscar. That's all.
There's no reason. There's no reason to take Aaron Judge over Matt Olson, in my opinion, either.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yep.
Are you guys worried about the New York thing at all, or is that's going to be something that passes?
No, they already said it won't. It's not happening.
Okay.
Yeah. They said because
there's
it's outdoors or whatever that it's not conflicting with the Kyrie Irving situation.
I mean,
which is weird.
It's just common sense, right? It's outdoors. Baseball's a spread game. It's not like they're guarding each other, right? It's not not running up and down the court playing, guarding tight there. So makes sense.
They literally have gloves on, like
there's some butt slaps at first base or whatever, but other than that, I mean, it's your own teammates that you're around for the most part. So
no chewing sun seeds or anything else in the dugout will be fine. But
don't share bubble gum with your teammates.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jack Flaherty, we saw the news on him. Not great with that shoulder. I wonder if the Cardinals are gonna go out and get another starter, because I gotta say, when you see your pitcher getting a second opinion from on a shoulder MRI, not great. Same team 2. He's had some good, some bad. You got the Matt Olson, but he also had Tatis and Flaherty. So Adam's going to be in a dicey spot here, it looks like.
Yeah, I like Trevor Rogers and Rodriguez in Detroit this year, but I don't know what to expect from Shane Bieber either. Do you guys think he's all the way back? Do you trust him?
I think he returned healthy at the end of the year, and he didn't have a strain. He had like a scalp. I forgot what it was called, but his injury was weird. It wasn't something normal.
So you're fine with him
if he drops like a round.
Yeah.
Okay.
Boy, this is all team variance here. He's either going to kill us or he's going to be in like 14th, I think. But Giovanni Gallegos is on this team too, and the Cardinals said they might not have a designated closer. At least they're not designating one yet. But I don't see anybody else in that bullpen that's really has closer-worthy skills. So I'm still not that worried.
Yeah.
No, I wonder if they're going to put Alex Reyes there, because they never seem to define what he's going to do. But I agree with you.
He's hurt now too.
Yep. He just had an injection for his shoulder. So, yeah, that's not great.
I think a lot of the talk so we saw the last couple of years, these pitchers get these undefined roles as the season goes on. And I think as a rookie manager, he's just setting the stage saying, okay, if Gallegos happens to come in the 7th, facing the Brewers heart of the order, he doesn't want all the fans to say, well, he was our closer. We could say, hey, in March, I said that it would be, so I think he's just covering his butt, to be honest. That way people don't say get up in arms if they do use him there. But I can't see anyone else, taking that role over unless he really, really falters, because he's for sure the best guy there.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the Cardinals, sorry to go back to the Flaherty thing you guys mentioned, but Sean Manaea has been mentioned as a big time target, and I'd love that landing spot, because the Busch Stadium too, I believe is what it's called, fantastic for pitchers. So
yeah,
I think Manaea there. I mean, he's had some injury issues, but he's a good pitcher.
Yeah, he is. And I love that landing spot. You get a little Cardinal Devil magic going for him there. Get to face the NL Central. See also Reds tanking. Cubs have tons of strikeout hitters. The Pirates have a weak lineup. Yeah, that'd be a great spot. Go get your Brewers and Cardinals pitchers right now.
Yep.
But
I tweeted the other day the Brewers and probably the Cardinals too. They face the Pirates, Cubs, and Reds 58 times this year. It's like it's going to be just those. It's crazy. I mean, it's like these pitchers are just going to have such great numbers.
It's going to be like 2020 where they had 60 games against central opponents. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
You had some massive crazy numbers. Ian, key to your team. Who's the guy you're sweating the most? And it would be like huge if he comes through, but a huge disappointment if he doesn't. I know I have my answer, but I want to hear it from you.
I think for me, it's got to be Rodon. And going back to what you were saying about being important where guys land, I'm not sure I'm taking him if he's on any of the other 29 teams. There's just something I like. Like there's a level of confidence I get from the Giants making a commitment like that to him, and I have faith in the people that are doing the thinking over there. And I was real down on him when the own team that he was on wasn't going to bring him back. But seeing him go to the Giants like that, I said, hey, let's take a shot. And I'd love to see that pan out from my 7 spot there. And right next to him, Cease. I mean, I just had to go after that upside because, that could really pop. Who's yours?
I was going to say Yelich for you, to be honest, but I get Rodon too. That Cease, Rodon, Yelich, Muncy stretch. There's a wide amount of variance there on what could happen.
And that next one killed me because I was all over. I thought I was going to get to go Muncy, Votto back to back, and he went the pick right before. That was my one snipe that I just couldn't let go.
Hate it when that happens. Kev, how about you? Who's your most critical player? Does not have one, or he's muted. I think he muted himself here. There we go.
Almost.
Any lip readers?
Hey.
There we go. Got him back.
Are we working? Perfect. Yeah. Okay. So my most critical player, as in to my success.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Mondesi was kind of like a weird pick. I'm not targeting Mondesi, but if he falls, it's great. But I'd say Cody Bellinger.
Mm-hmm.
Like if Bellinger hits, like legitimate, like hits on the field and hits as a pick. I mean, getting a former first, second round pick in the late 7th, 8th, can't go wrong.
Yeah. I think you're probably right about that. I'm right there with you. And in fact, I have him around pick 100 in a lot of different places already so far this year. And it's always Belly and Yelly. It's Belly and Yellinger. Bellinger and Yelich are always going fairly close to each other. And I'm always on the team Bellinger on that. No offense, Ian, but that's just the way I lean on that. I worry about Yelich's back too. But it was Bellinger. I think the playoffs convinced me that he can still turn on a fastball. It's not something he's not irretrievably broken. I think he can be fixed, and I think he will get fixed this year.
I'm all in on him too. I didn't take him because I think I'm already too overexposed. So I'm right there with you. I'm a big Bellinger believer, and especially the way the Dodgers, we're going to see some guys in and out of this lineup catching breathers every once in a while. And if Bellinger can capitalize and move up and maybe stick around closer to the top of that lineup, wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam, how about you? Who's your Mr. Most Critical Player?
I think it's a two-parter. I think it's Seiya Suzuki. I'm really hopeful that down there he is the hitter that a couple of people that I really like say he is. And then after that, it's Fab because I don't have really any catching or I don't feel good about my saves. So I'm going to have to be really good with that player that I pick up in the first Fab run.
The dynasty players always land the guys that are coming over from overseas or the hot prospects. I've noticed. Tim McLeod always does that in labor too. So Suzuki's now a Cub. That's a good landing spot. He's going to better ballpark than San Diego, at least worse lineup. But still he also gets to face Reds and Pirates pitchers too. So he's got
absolutely. And I think I only took Adley Rutschman as my prospect that I was picking up. I tried to avoid Torkelson and Julio and some of the other players that I also really like.
Yeah. Sounds like the Tigers want Torkelson and Green to make the team, though. I'm encouraged by that a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
How about you, Seth? Who's your most critical guy?
I think we're going to go back to what we talked about earlier. It's kind of that it's not one guy; it's a stretch of Suarez, Chapman, Bauer, Bader, Strasburg. I know that's a lot, but I mean the Chapman pick in the 13th is obviously a steal now, going to Toronto.
Absolutely.
But Suarez is my third starting pitcher. I need him to produce. He was great when he became a starter last year, and then of course we talked about Bauer and Strasburg, but also Harrison Bader. If he can be a 15-15 guy at that in the 15th round, that will really help me out. Because I really didn't get any steals after my first 2 picks, so that would boost me a lot.
Yeah, for him, it's just been a matter of staying on the field. I think, just accumulating the bats. He does strike out a ton, but he was showing signs last year. Just kept on getting hurt. So we'll see about that, guys. This has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on doing Scarfcast. Had a fun time, really fun time doing the draft. Yeah, expired token again. Our best friend. NFPC is trying to tell us what we got to be done with this pod, but good luck to all your teams. And again, it's tell everybody again, we'll go one by one where you can find him. Seth, I know we can find you on Twitter, if not on a website or podcast right now.
Yeah, on Twitter at Seth the Sportsman, SETHDASPORTSMAN. I'm always on there talking, and I'm happy to come on any podcast if anyone has them. I love talking baseball.
Awesome. Sam, you're at Dynasty Guru. Where else can they find you?
And I'm starting a podcast in the next week called Peace Love Baseball. It's at PLB Podcast on Twitter. And then I also share some of my writing and smartass remarks at Sam FBB1.
Very good. Kev, you are Rotoballer, Fox, at Rotosurgeon. Am I missing anything? Where else?
You covered all the bases, Jeff. Thank you. At RotoSurgeon and the Operating Room podcast on Apple and Spotify.
Yep. And Ian, we'll follow you on Twitter at Swerka.
Sounds great.
All right. Someday you'll be working in the business, maybe. Who knows?
Hey, fingers crossed. Thanks for having me on. It's a real treat.
You bet. Guys, thank you so much. Thank everybody for listening. Thanks to WinBet for your sponsorship. Good luck in your teams this season. We'll be back at you again tomorrow with Clay and Todd. Thanks for listening to RotoWire.
Peace and love.